closer walk with thee. Got it right. Let's turn on that to number 40, where we'll never grow old. 41. 41.
There Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I went home last night.
Judy, you went on a date last night? You went on a date last night? You will. Good.
Two. 32.
He's here.
Yeah, I saw him.
Yeah, you go back and see him, Sean.
He's back there with Ben. Okay. I'm back. That's what that little girl said in the movie. Okay. I'm going to read to you some of our emails, some of our response. We're on TV in about 350 towns and cities. We're on about 76 markets, and we think if we counted all the towns, it would be like Nashville and all the suburbs around it, like Lebanon and Franklin and Fairview and up to Lafayette and all of the suburbs. In the same way with San Francisco and Los Angeles and Chicago. And we're on all those places, and then also all over Texas, Dallas, Fort Worth, San Antonio, Austin, Beaumont, and then we're on up and down the East Coast in Philadelphia and Boston, all of New York City, all the boroughs. And these are people that write to us. Jan Melville Mack wrote to us, and she's down just in the New Orleans area in Louisiana. We're on TV there and radio there. Agape Jim, such a blessing to see you last night preaching. We missed you on Wednesday night. Thanks for the DVDs. Received them today. Irene, that's the Greek word peace. You hit the nail on the head about the chat room. We took the chat room off. People had a tendency to argue during the message on the chat room. We don't want anything that'll divert from the message. Also, could you send me a pack of sledgehammers? That's all these tracts over here. One guy called me one time and said, you got any more of these sledgehammers? I said, what are you talking about? He said, those tracts that you can put in that you put in offices. I picked some up, and he said, boy, they're like little sledgehammers. Trying to stay in the thalipsis. Of course, she's learning the thalipsis hodos, the narrow way. My coworker asked what church I go to. My reply was Grace and Truth Ministries. Want to give them DVDs that Brother Scott had recorded, figured they would be able to get a better hypostasis, understanding in their Koine language, their common language, which would be the Spanish. Thanks in advance, your Mathetes, disciple, learner, Jan Melville Mack in Louisiana. We love you, Jan. Keep writing. And then I got a letter from Ebenezer in the United Kingdom. That United Kingdom means everywhere that is under the Queen's rule, England, Ireland, Scotland, Canada, Australia, but they're over there, and usually they put United Kingdom when they're from England. And Ebenezer says, thanking God for health and strength. He continues to give you both, upholds and sustains and gradually brings you through many trials of ill health. We thank God for the rich blessings of His Word we receive from your teaching that you share with us through His Spirit. I heard the verses as an argument against God predestinating all things. I have heard from you the truth of the Word of God, that the doctrine of God is predestination. I believe this, and that the wickedness from the children of Judah was predetermined in God's heart, knowing these people would not walk after His commandments. In Job 15:16. How much more abominable and filthy is man, which drinketh iniquity like water. They got Psalms 14:3. I believe that's Job 15. They are all gone out aside. They are all together become filthy. There is none that doeth good, no, not one. I try to check the Hebrew on these verses, Jeremiah 7:30 and 33, but could not find an answer. Could you help? Agape Ebenezer in the UK. And then he gives me some verses on, for the children of Judah have done evil in my sight. Jeremiah was the last prophet in Israel right before their destruction. He prophesied for 40 years from approximately 626 BC until 586 when they were carried away in southern Judah. But at the time of southern Judah being carried away, northern Israel had already been carried away about 140 years before. So Jeremiah is only pronouncing judgment on Judah. He's not going to pronounce judgment on northern Israel. That was Isaiah's job. Isaiah went after northern Israel, and he lived sometime before 140, 50 years before Jeremiah. So Jeremiah's down here, and when he's prophesying, it's against Judah, which is southern Israel, comprised of the tribe of Judah and Benjamin. And the 10 northern tribes, they had already been carried away captive by the Assyrians. That was in 722 BC. So you got to know the dates on these guys to know what they're talking about. You have to understand that Ezekiel and Daniel, Zeke and Daniel, are over here in Babylon. They were carried away captive into Babylon by the Babylonian king Nebuchadnezzar, and northern Israel is carried away in 722 BC by the Assyrians, which is considered northern Babylon. And of course, the Assyrians were overthrown by the Babylonians around 605 BC. It's good to learn these dates because you'll know who's talking to who. It sounds like Jeremiah is just after southern Judah. Well, that's all he's after, because northern Israel already been carried off and put in bonds over in Babylon. You have to know that. You have to know that Ezekiel and Daniel, gosh, I don't need to get in this right now, okay? Excuse me. I want to keep teaching. Sorry. All right. And then I can't read all these emails. There's too many of them. Diane Bureau writes to us over in North Carolina, her and her husband James. Hi Jim, I hope this note finds you doing well. James and I will not be at the chili cookout this year. He has been doing some work on our coast, Wilmington, North Carolina, from Hurricane Dorian. He's got one of the most unusual jobs I've ever run across. James Bureau, as soon as a hurricane hits, his job starts, because he is a cleanup person for hurricanes and superstorms. That's what he does. Takes a truck and some men, and they go in. I don't know how they contract that, but when a hurricane hits, I say, well, James is fixing to go to work. And then he sends his tithe in. I could say thank the Lord, but I don't know what to say. It's the will of God anyway. He won't be home in time for us to be there, but we'll be there in spirit with you all. I have a request if possible. I just finished listening to 0167 on YouTube, and it is a fantastic message on life and prayer and how we need, that had to be out of the 90s, how we need to bow to the will of God no matter what. Yes, sir, this is surely has hit home on so many levels. So I am not sure if this has been made on a DVD for handouts, but I would love to have this one and just listen over and over. I am slowly learning and grasping and just trying to accept that all things are according to God's will. God said so. Even when I am sad, so very sad, also a few weeks back, you read a correspondence from a gentleman named Clinton, I think. Clint. Huh?
Balthazar.
Oh, Clinton Balthazar. Oh, okay. Or was it the guy out in Hollywood? Huh? Clinton Derrick's Carroll is an actor in Hollywood. He used to be on Sanford and Son, and he really likes what we teach. He was on some other shows out there. He's got a twin brother that don't like what I'm saying. It's identical twin. And we got Conwell Scott out in California. He loves what we teach. He's got an identical twin brother that don't like what I'm teaching. And that's strange. Made of the same stuff. One likes it, one don't. I believe he lives somewhere in North Carolina. Oh, no, it couldn't be them. He didn't give his last name or location, but James and I were wondering if he and his family lived near us. Thank you, Jim, for all your studying. Karis Kai Irene Died Bureau in North Carolina. Karis, that's grace. Kai is and Irene is peace. I'm glad I can understand the Greek to some degree. Because, boy, when y'all write these things, I'd be embarrassed if I didn't. And Kevin Corbin writes from Springfield, Missouri. Hello, I'm glad that you discuss things that you won't hear taught anywhere else. I don't hear anybody talking about what I'm talking about. Nobody. The teaching on the Sphinx in Egypt being a variation of the four-faced cherubim was really a surprise to me. It was a surprise to me, too, when I found it. But it makes a lot of sense when you think about it in the light of truth. I also watched a DVD lately where you were talking about modern-day clowns, how there are good clowns and evil clowns. Well, there were good demons and bad demons, good genies and bad genies. There's no such thing as demons and genies. It's just self. And how this relates to the first century and good clowns and evil clowns, how this relates to the first century, and when everyday people believed in a good demon and a bad demon. There are very, very many things that you have taught that I'm grateful for, which are too numerous to mention in this note. All the study you have put in over the last 60 plus years has allowed you, by the grace of God, to open the lockbox of the Bible to tell the whole truth to those having ears to hear. Agape and Flail, Kevin Corbin in Springfield, Missouri. We love you, Kevin. Tell your mom we love her too. I'll read one more just to inform you on something. Excuse me. Free your mind. This is from YouTube comment. My YouTube comments usually give me thunder. But this is on the message, why they are killing Jesus, Haggadah, Halakha, Midrash, and Mishnah. And he says, Jesus did not die on the cross. It's time for the truth to come out. Well, here's the truth, okay? Pay attention. Jesus died on a stake. The word cross is the word stauros, S-T-A-U-R-O-S. It means a stake. Now, this is where people really get all bent out of shape. Stake. The stake was an upright, pole that they would bury in the ground. And you have to understand that the Romans weren't the first people to use a cross. The Phoenicians, which we call Lebanon, right above Israel, and that was old ancient Tyre and Sidon. Let me see here. That would be up here in Tyre and Sidon, and Israel's right down here on the eastern end of the Mediterranean. These people of Tyre and Sidon used crosses 200 years before Christ, or even earlier than that. And the people of Carthage over here in northern Africa, they had used them too. But they found that when they would put a man on a cross and they'd drop it into the ground and it would thud, hit the bottom, that he'd come flying off the cross. So the Romans made this into a torture device. They took the cross piece was called the patibulum.
Right big.
The patibulum. I'll have to rewrite it. Patibulem. And this is what the man carried. I used to resent it when I was young, and I would see some artist had drawn the picture of the man carrying the cross piece over on his body. They would put his arms over it, then they would tie his hands to it, and that's what he would carry to be crucified. That's when the Cyrenian, when Jesus failed, he couldn't carry it anymore. That's what the man carried, the cross piece. And it was necessary because the Romans honed this to a really highlighted skill of torture. And they would nail the man to the cross piece, not in the palms of his hands, not there. The palm was said to go up nearly to the elbow. And they would if they nailed it here, and in what those people that walk around and they say they're having stigmata, that's where they got these blood coming out of the center of their hand. That's wrong. Those people are wrong in the fact that they got the stigmata here. They always drove the nails through between the radius and the ulna, those two bones right there. That way they didn't break any bone. Jesus was the Passover lamb, and not a bone could be broken. In order to be the Passover lamb out of Exodus 12, so they had to drive the nail through here. We had a picture over there that showed the nail being driven through here. Mary redid it. Yeah, she's drawing. Anyway, so they would take the man, turn that patibulum backwards. This was called the stipes here, the post. It's T-I-P-E-S. And then they would twist that man backward, twist his arms backward, and it would throw his body forward, and he would eventually become disjointed hanging on the cross. The Passover lamb had to be disjointed when they ate it. The Bible says so. No bone of the Passover lamb could be broken. Well, the Romans come up with a little footrest here, and I used to think, why are they letting him rest? This is supposed to be torture. Well, that was torture, because when he was out of joint, he could breathe in, but he couldn't exhale. And if he couldn't exhale, he would suffocate. So what they would do, they put this little footrest, and he would go, and he could breathe out if he pushed his feet up. So in the 19th chapter of John, when the soldiers come around, it was against Jewish law to have anyone on a cross after 6 o'clock on Friday evening. They were going into the Sabbath at sundown to sundown. Their days were from the evening and morning were the first day. The evening was the first of the day. Their day ended at 6 o'clock, and the new day started at 6 o'clock in the evening. Forget 12 o'clock, that has nothing to do with the Jews. 12 midnight. So they couldn't have him hanging on the cross, so what they would do, they would come around, and the two thieves that were crucified with him, they broke their legs. They would break their legs, but when they got to Jesus, he was dead already. They could not have broken his legs. He would not have been the Passover lamb. Do you understand that? So that's why he had to be crucified on Friday, because they couldn't keep him on the cross on a Sabbath. Not after 6 o'clock. They had to break their legs. But Jesus was dead already, and that was the reason for the stipes and the patibulum. I understand the word cross is the word stake. But you don't understand the cross that Jesus died on. That's the story. Well, what are you going to do with it? All right. That's enough reading. I just wanted to straighten that out for this guy that says, I didn't know what I was talking about, Jesus dying on a cross. Well, that's for your information. All right, we are on TV all over the country, about 350 towns and cities in New York and Los Angeles and Chicago and Brooklyn, Queens, Staten Island, Manhattan, the Bronx, and Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston, Beaumont, San Antonio, Austin, all over the Midwest, and there's a lot of people calling. We're also on the internet 24 hours a day, and as of today, we got 3,926 messages. I've had people say, could we have a copy of all your messages? You're going to have to get a job and come here and work at night and come help us make all the DVDs. You can have the DVDs free of charge. We don't charge anything. They're free. Postage, packaging, handling, free. We don't ask anybody for any money ever, except for the poor. That's all. And when you leave the money for the poor, you mail it for the poor, that goes into a benevolent fund at the bank, and that all goes to the poor and the needy. It does take about $37,000 a month to keep us alive and going. We got 5 full-time workers. We're on TV all over the country, and it costs thousands of dollars to stay on TV every month. All right, that's enough said. We had a great day yesterday. We had our international chili cookout and had a good gathering, and we missed some of you, but hope that you can come to our picnic in June. Huh? In May. Mary says at the end of May, I don't know. Whatever.
May 16th, your birthday.
May 16th, my birthday. 81 is no big deal. 80 is a big deal. That's when you know you're old. All right. We're glad to have Willie back here. He's our guest. He came over to our house the other day, and we went through a lot of Greek words, and that's what we do. Did everybody get one of these papers? Where's the papers? Did everybody get one? Can y'all? Anybody that doesn't have one, get one to the people. I'm going to talk about that. All right. All right. We'll be giving you a date on our picnic somewhere as soon as Mike sets a time up next year, and then we'll have another chili cookout again next October. Maybe a little later in the month, so it'll be a little cooler. But that was a pretty good day yesterday. Am I missing anything? I don't guess not.
Got John and Teresa here.
Huh? John and Teresa are here, yeah. From Newark. New York. Not Newark, that's New Jersey. New York. New York, New York.
Eddie?
Eddie is here. Eddie from Oklahoma. Where's Eddie? Oh, there he is. Yeah. Glad to have Eddie here. All right. Where did Ben go? Has Ben left us? Oh, I was going to call on him to pray. Well, let's go to the Lord in prayer. And Brother Ken, would you pray for us?
Thank you, God, for allowing us to be here this morning. Thank you for everything that you do. Thank you for your blessings, your forgiveness, and your healing power. Watch over us and take care of us, God. Give us your grace. Continue to love us. Continue to guide us. This is a sinful world, full of greed, want more. But that's the way it's supposed to be. And we thank you. Amen.
All right. Does everybody have one of those papers? Well, I'd pull that out of the way. I might need that. There's something. I don't know what it is. Are we ready, Mike? Am I on? Mike? Where's Mike?
Elvis has left the building.
That's really, Mike has left the building. Mike, it's time to start. Can we start? $90. That's too long. But it was a cross. You have to know the way the Jews thought. And you can't learn that just reading the Bible. You got to read extra biblical information. Like McClintock and Strong, Hastings, Alfred Edersheim, excellent sources. What? I can't hear you. Oh, okay.